Hello and welcome back to Sleep Nurse UK. My name's Laura. I am a qualified paediatric nurse and also a certified sleep consultant. And today I wanted to talk about sleep regressions. Now there are millions of hits on Google on a daily basis from parents wanting to know more about sleep regressions, when they happen and what they can do to help their little one if they think they're going through a sleep regression. So what I wanted this video today to be about is really take a closer look at sleep regressions. What are they? What is the evidence to suggest that children are going through these? And what are the developmental changes that children experience? I'm also going to be looking at what you can do as parents if you think your child is going through a sleep regression, and helpful tips, techniques that you can apply tonight to help your little one with their sleep. So when do sleep regressions occur? Now, if you Google sleep regressions, I'm pretty confident that for any given day of your child's life, somewhere there will be an article, a blog, another parent who says that actually it's a sleep regression your child is going through. You can find one for every day of your child's life. But from research, we know that there are actually 4 key stages of a child's development when they are more likely to go through what we call a sleep regression. These are at around 4 months of age, 9 months of age, 18 months of age, and around 2 to 2.5 years. And I will come on to why we know that there are sleep regressions at these stages in a minute. But how do you know, apart from their age, that your child is going through a sleep regression? Now, for some children, there will be no signs at all that anything is different. Everything will stay the same and your little one will continue to sleep as they normally do. So, for example, if you've got a really good sleeper, they will continue to do so. If you've got a child who maybe wakes a lot, they will just continue to do so. But for other children, specifically children who are quite sensitive to their environment and any changes, you might notice a few things. You might notice that your little one suddenly becomes quite difficult to settle. So when they would normally settle quite quickly for you, maybe they'd let you lay them down in the cot and then you could leave quite quickly. They might be fussing that little bit more and wanting you to hold them. They may be more fussy generally, so throughout the night and then also during their day naps, you might notice that they're more clingy towards you, or they want to have more contact naps, so they want to be next to you more. They also might wake more frequently, whether that be for daytime naps or during the night. So it could be any one of those things or a mixture of all of them that makes you think maybe they are going through what we call a sleep regression. So let's look at that 4-month sleep regression first. So what is actually happening? It tends to happen between the ages of 3 to 5 months. Obviously, each child is an individual, so you can't give a definite age of, oh, the day they turn 4 months, this is what's happening. It's more a window. Around this time, we know that children will develop more permanent adult-like sleep cycles. So little ones under the age of around 4 months have sleep cycles that last between 50 and 60 minutes. So what that means is they're going through different stages of sleep, so light sleep to deep sleep, and then stages of REM sleep. So that's that state of sleeping where we know we dream. And they're cycling through these, and an average cycle will last about 50 to 60 minutes. And the impact on that is that little ones will be coming into that lighter sleep at around 60 minutes. And this is the time that they then can wake up before then going back into another sleep cycle. Now, that sleep cycle lasts about 90 minutes for adults. So we go from that very light sleep to the deep sleep. We're sort of going through the stages. We're having REM sleep as well. And at the end of about a 90-minute sleep cycle, that's where we're in that light sleep, we will naturally then go back into the next stage of our sleep cycles. Obviously, as adults, when we go into those lighter sleep stages, we're more able to then link into our next sleep cycle. Whereas for little ones, sometimes they can need a little bit of help linking the sleep cycles. But what we know is around that 4-5 month mark, children shift from having those shorter sleep cycles to resembling a longer adult-like sleep cycle. And this ties in as well with a whole host of new skills your little one will be learning. If you compare a newborn to that of a 4-5 month old, what they have learned in that period is phenomenal, really. Your little one will be more aware of the world around them. They'll be much more sociable, learning new skills, and they're sort of on the cusp of getting ready to have solids at around 6 months old. But in the build up to that, they'll be learning their hand-eye coordination. So it's a really exciting stage of development. And I think there is some negativity, isn't there, with sleep regressions, but actually it's a natural stage of development. It's a progression. You want your child to be going through this because it shows they're developing as they should. So now we're going to fast forward to the next sort of stage of sleep regression, and that is 9 months. And again, 9 months old is a time of exciting physical development for little ones. They will be starting to use their body to figure out that they can maybe crawl, stand up, maybe cruising around furniture. And their brain development and language learning is really heightened at this age. We also know that teething might start, and also some children might be dropping naps, so might be going from 3 naps to 2 naps. There's also something called object permanence that develops at this age. And this is where children become aware that just because they can't see an object, they understand that actually the object still exists. Now, a good test to see if your little one has developed object permanence is to get maybe a toy, a ball, something they're really interested in. Let them have a little play with it, a good look at it, and then cover it up with a cloth or a tea towel. Now, if your little one wants to get under that towel or cloth to get at the toy, you know that they have developed the object permanence. They understand that that object is still under the cloth or the towel. If your child is then looking at the tea towel, maybe playing with the tea towel, looking elsewhere, they want to find a different toy, they've not quite developed that understanding. So they think once that toy has gone, it has gone. So you might be wondering, what on earth does this have to do with sleep? Well, when you put your little one down to sleep, if they have developed object permanence, some children can be wondering why on earth you're not staying with them. Because when you leave the room, they are now aware that actually you still exist. You're doing something else without them in the house. And for a lot of children, that can be quite upsetting, and they have to learn that actually it's okay that you will return and come back. But it can be quite a confusing time, hence why we know it is linked to sleep regressions. So then we are moving on to 18 months of age. And again, this is such an exciting time of development. You've probably got a very happy, sociable little one who is into everything, really inquisitive about the world around them. They will have a newfound independence and probably want to go off exploring. But also, for a lot of little ones at this age, they can have quite heightened separation anxiety. So if perhaps in the day you go into another room, you might find your little one gets upset, they're clinging to your legs, they become your little shadows. So wherever you are, they are in the room. And this can translate quite easily to sleep. When you try and put them down, they actually want to be next to you and they want to have you near to them. We also know around this time the back molars start to come through. Again, teething is very individual to each child, but for a lot of children, those molars start to appear, which can affect sleep. And again, we've got a bit of a schedule change at around 18 months. So little ones might be dropping from 2 naps to 1 nap, and this can have an impact on nighttime sleep. And then we've got our 2 to 2.5-year-olds. And wow, they are developing so much at this age. So physically, they are able to kick a ball. They might be jumping, they might be potty training, they might have new siblings. There are so many changes that can be happening at this age. And they also begin to develop that understanding of the world. They develop that unfairness. So if you're telling them no, they can't have another sweet, a lot of children at this age can feel that's quite unfair and not quite understand why there are certain rules in place. And also they can have a big FOMO, so fear of missing out. So if you're trying to put them to bed, they want to get in on the action. They want to know what else is going on in the house and why they aren't included. They might have their second molars coming through. So I spoke earlier at 18 months, they might have their first molars. Around this time, they could have more teething, so with those second molars. They might have started nursery, which might have heightened some separation anxiety. And they also tend to develop quite good imaginations at this point as well. So they might be becoming scared of the dark, not wanting the lights off when they go asleep. So those are the 4 key areas that we know sleep regressions occur at. So we've got the 4-month, where we're going from newborn sleep cycles to adult. We've got the 9-month mark, the 18-month mark, and the 2.5-year mark. So what can you do as parents if you think your child's around this age and might be going through a sleep regression? My top tip is to wait and see. Don't jump in straight in there with new routines or changing things if you think your little one is struggling with their sleep. My advice would be to give it a few days to see if your child will naturally go back to their normal sleep cycles. Sometimes we as parents, we can be too eager to fix things, and actually rushing in and changing too many things at the same time can have the opposite effect that we want and can make things worse. You might find it useful to maybe jot down the times your child is waking, what is happening, what do they want, to see if there's some sort of pattern to it. But my top first tip would be just to wait and see if they actually things go back to normal. And during this time, don't introduce any sort of new habits. So, for example, if your child was not feeding through the night, don't then start introducing feeds every 2 hours. If your little one wasn't being held to go to sleep, don't start introducing that when they cry, you go in and then hold them to sleep. I know it's easier said than done, and it's hard when it's 2 o'clock in the morning. But introducing new habits that you don't want can be really hard to then break once they've got over their sleep regression. Now, I spoke a lot about the changes in naps And sometimes that can be a cause for affecting sleep at night. Because the main reason for that is because there's no set age for when we can say, oh yes, on this exact day you switch your naps. Because each child is so individual and you really have to find what works for you and your little one. Sometimes when you change the naps, there can be a few days of adjustment that can affect that nighttime sleep. But if you feel you've changed the naps and it's having a negative knock-on effect to nighttime sleep, it might be worth just looking at your schedule again and just making sure your child is having enough daytime and nighttime sleeps. Sometimes during the nap transition, it might be worth putting in a little power nap somewhere if your child is struggling to then stay awake until bedtime. I did a video previously all about wake windows. So if you are thinking about changing your little one's nap, please take a look at that video, and there's also a link on there where you can get a completely free copy of my wake and nap time schedules. So take a look at that. Another really good tip is to encourage the new skills that they are learning every day. So for example, a common thing I see as a sleep consultant is little ones wanting their dummies at night. And as soon as it's coming out of their mouth, they're crying and waking. And I tell parents, really practice that skill during the day. So when they're nice and awake, turn it into a game that you're showing them how to hold the dummy and then bring it to their mouth. So it's that hand and eye coordination. Similarly, if your little one has learned to stand up on the cot, but then is getting stuck at night, practice that skill with them in the day. So practice them standing up and holding on, but then show them how to slowly lower themselves. So you might need to maybe put your hands under their bottom so they can feel something under there and slowly bring them down. It's just practicing those skills so that when maybe they stand up in the night, they won't get stuck. They will know how to sit back down. Same thing with rolling. A lot of children can suddenly know how to roll onto their tummy, but then they don't know how to roll back. So practice that skill in the day. Lots of tummy time, lots of trying to get them to push up, use toys as a way to entice them and encourage them to roll back the other way. So for teething, now again, teething is one of those things that if you Google it, your child will be teething for most of their life. In reality, I think sometimes we blame teething when it might not actually be teething. Really, the most painful part of teething is when that tooth actually is coming through the gum. And a good way to gauge your child's pain is to see how they are in the day. Now, if they're absolutely fine all day long, but then they're upset at night, it might be worth considering if it's not actually teething because they've been fine all day. Now, certainly, we know as adults that if we have a pain, in the daytime we're distracted, we get on with things, and then pain can intensify when we then lie down at night, but it shouldn't go from 0 to 100. Also, you can buy lots of teething products online, find what works for you. Some parents rave about the teething powders or like the granules you can put on the gums. Other parents don't rate them at all. You can consider giving paracetamol if you think your little one is in a lot of pain. Make sure you always follow the instructions on the bottle and speak to your local pharmacist or GP if you've got any questions about if pain relief is suitable. But again, the key thing is no new habits. Don't introduce anything to your little one that you don't want to keep on doing. So as I mentioned earlier, don't start rocking them to sleep. Don't start feeding them frequently during the night. I would advise being completely consistent with your bedtime routine and the response that you give in the night. Of course, you don't want to leave your little one crying, and so it might be that you need to pop in and give that reassurance. But anytime you are popping in to give reassurance to your child, you need to make sure it's very short. So a quick, it's fine, I'm here, and then make sure you are leaving the room. Otherwise, again, that's a new habit that you could be starting where you're actually kept in the room for a long time, which can be fine for a night or two, but then if that continues, it can become unsustainable. So that is it. That is my 101 for sleep regressions. Those are the 4 main times that we know the development that's happening in the day, changes that might happen in regards to sleep. If your child has gone through a sleep regression, or you have any concerns about your child's sleep, and they have been persistent, so they are going on for more than a few days, and you feel like this is something that you might want some support with, I would be more than happy to help. You can find all my details in the box below. You can find me across social media. I am Sleep Nurse UK, and you can find out there how you can book a completely free 30-minute call with me to discuss any concerns that you have and to see if I'm a good fit for you and your family. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you next week. Bye.